Oh, it's scary to record this video. I have a driving test coming up in 3 days. And honestly, I can't really handle the stress. I used to think that I was done stressing out about things that I can't control. But the driving school just proved me wrong. I couldn't sleep before the driving lessons, and now I have to just sit and wait for a test that will determine if all of this effort that I put into this driving school and also all of that money, if it all just was worth it. And that drives me crazy. So, what the hell is going on? From the start, I was feeling uncomfortable. For me, I just was always scared of driving fast. I didn't know that I would feel a fear like that when I signed up for the driving school, but from the moment I started driving, I've been so scared of like driving near the speed limit, which is something that I have to do to pass the exam. And also, because I was driving so fast, and I was focusing on whether I don't cross the speed limit or break any other rules, I would just miss the traffic signs, which is also not very good thing to do. But over time, I gained some confidence, but then I finished all the driving classes that were included in the course, and I had to wait for 2 weeks for my final test. And that is when I started stressing out again. Because the worst part about this is that I know myself that I am far from being a perfect driver. I know that. I sometimes still, I don't know, what is my... Sometimes I, am not able to park the car. And so I know that I would need a lot more practice to become fully confident when it comes to driving. The problem is that the driving course doesn't really have flexible amount of hours, everyone gets the same, and then you have to pay a lot for more. And so I feel kind of stressed out because whenever I feel like I'm not perfect in something, I practice. I practice a lot. Like when I know I'm not good enough at running to run a certain race, I train a lot. I work out. When I was training for a triathlon and when I'm right now training for triathlon, I know how fast I have to be. I know that I will have to manage 3 different sports in an hour. And so I train to have that endurance. Or when it comes to school, for example, when it comes to English, and I know that I'm not good at some sort of grammar, I practice that so I can write the test well. And when it comes to driving, I can't do the strategy that I always use because, well, like driving without driver's license is illegal. So I can't really, get the quantity that I would love to get before the test alone, in peace. And so the only thing that I can really do is to do the tests because, well, I also like have to write a test from theory, which I've been doing every day. And yeah, that's like the only thing I can do right now. But the problem is that that is just not enough for my brain. I'm always stressed out because I feel like I'm not doing enough. That I should be doing more, I should be better at the final test. But the problem is that I can't do more. And it is just so hard for my brain to cope with this fact. And so I'm just so stressed that I will fail this test because I didn't do enough, even though I am convinced that I'm doing enough, but my brain just pushes me into the fact that I am not, that I should be doing more, and I'm just constantly imagining the worst case scenarios, like that I'm gonna fail even the third attempt, and then I will have to do more driving classes and pay more money, which is quite a lot. Like I would have to pay another around 1,000 euros, which isn't really a sum of money that I would love to spend, and then do another test, and I just keep spiraling in these thoughts, and yeah, here we go again, I can't sleep. And like this is the, I would say, the main problem. Because if I continue to live like this, if I continue to think like this, I will also be stressed at the exam, you know? I don't believe that the stress will somehow go away. Like, at school it does, because, well, I don't really care, you know, if I'm stressed before an exam and then I see the exam, I'm like, hey, like, whatever. If I get an F, nothing's gonna happen. But here, this will actually have real life consequences. And I know that when I'll be sitting in the car, it might actually increase. And so if I continue like this and I get even more stressed out, the chance of me failing the exam is much higher. And so I have realized that I just have to get my stress under control. Like, this is not a question if I want, but this is a question of how I'm gonna do it, not if I'm gonna do it. And so I started to look for different ways because, you know, my natural reaction was like, hey, I'm just gonna control the stress. But if you try controlling stress, you'll probably know that, but it just gets worse. You know, if you try to push it away, it gets back stronger. And so I started looking for different ways to put myself together, you know, to get back on a calm track. And here are 5 ways that I've been trying to put the negative effects of stress from my driving school away. And we can hopefully try them together and hopefully they'll work. So number 1 for me was meditation. And you know, meditation just makes me calmer every time. It makes my thoughts a bit slower, and it brings the realization that you can't resist the stress. Like, even if you try to do that, and even if you know, try to push it away, the stress will come back. So you just have to let it be, you know, let it live, like, welcome it inside you, be kind to the stress, and let it be free. And if you do that, it'll disappear on its own. The second thing that I've started doing is that I came back to my quiet mornings because I love to listen to music in the morning and to podcasts. But the problem is that just this stimulation, just, you know, even though it's only music and it's only audio, it, you know, kind of messes up my brain, and I start thinking too much too early, and that is not good. So I came back to my quiet mornings, and they are more boring, but actually I find them so beneficial when it comes to just starting my day right, you know, without feeling overwhelmed. My third thing that I started doing is that I actually got into more exercising. And I know that this isn't probably the best way to cope with stress, you know, working out more. But for me, it actually was practical because I know that this state will last probably only 2 weeks. So I needed to sleep, you know, and I couldn't sleep because of the stress. And so I started really like thinking about my workouts, making them a bit harder. And I was just trying to make myself as tired as I can before I get to bed. And it really made my evenings much easier. So it's not really great thing to over exercise, but this was like the first aid kit for me, you know? It does more help than damage. Number 4 for me was also getting back to reading. Like, this process of combating stress was for me really about looking back to times when I was feeling, you know, calm and balanced, and thinking about what worked for me. And I have noticed that every time I had a stressful time in my life, I suddenly stopped making time to read, you know, because maybe I had to do different things. I thought that I had to prioritize something else instead of reading. But, you know, it really shows that when I read, my mind is much more calm, and I can deal with my emotions much better. And, you know, guess what I wasn't doing now? I wasn't reading, so I better get back to it. And I hope that I'll get to the mental state in which I was before I stopped reading. And last but not least, journaling. Again, it's a thing that I stopped doing in the past 3 months, and I better get back to it because it really calms me down. And just the way I see the words on the paper, it just makes me so much calmer and so much more willing to just look at the problem a bit more rationally, because yeah, like if I'm gonna fail the third attempt, it's not gonna be fun, It will cost a lot of money, and it will be pretty bad. But again, like I have the money, so I will be able to pay for that. So the money will not go down the drain. I will just have to pay more for that, and it will have a mark on my financial stability. But it's not that it would be devastating for me. So it is not actually worth that big of a amount of stress, if you get what I think. So, just journaling makes all the problems seem a bit smaller, a bit more rational, which I appreciate. The thing is just that I'm still trying to find my way, and I would love to hear from you guys if you feel the same. If you're maybe also going through a stressful time, even with driver's license or not, please share it in the comments. I feel like I'm not alone in it. I've talked to many people that feel the same way, and I would love to hear what works for you, how you managed your tests, or how do you feel right now before them. Please let me know. And remember, just because you're stressed about something, it's not always a downside, because it really shows that you care, and that is important to know. So try to work it out with me. I know we will get through this, and just stay strong. We can handle this. And if you wanted to entertain yourself for a bit longer, you can watch this video that you can see somewhere around me on the screen. It was made just for you, and I hope you like it. I really put some effort into it. So go watch it. See you there.